Great thumbnail. Yeah.
Great thumbnail. And what's going on, everyone? What's going on?
What's up?
Hey, internet land.
Internet. Hey, internet, and don't mind the conspiracy theories. Just let it all go.
There will be conspiracy theories tonight. So like there should be probably a disclaimer on this.
For sure.
Contains conspiracy theories.
Just shake it off. It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, welcome to another episode of Carbonite Bounty BS with me and the nerds here once again as we tackle Vision Season 2, and we'll do our Part 2, which is Episode 4 through 6. So before we even dive into these episodes, which I'm very excited for, I'll say this week, let's let our guy DP let you guys know where to find us at.
Nerdcyclopedia.com, people, your favorite website. Make sure you're getting all your social media platforms at Nerdcyclopedia on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and also on TikTok. If you are listening to us on podcasts, we are on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. If you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Hit that subscribe button. No, smash that subscribe button. And also hit that notification button so anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. And make sure that you also share our show. If you are watching us on Facebook, thank you as well. Make sure that you are joining our Facebook group at Carbonite Bounty BS, a Star Wars group. All your favorite memes and all your favorite Star Wars content right there with us chattering about it. Leave us some feedback too. Nerds at nerdcyclopedia.com. We love getting all your feedback and spin it right back at you.
Well said.
Thanks, Chuck Woolery.
Yeah. Love connection, but hey.
Yeah.
That's old school too.
And
we'll count the minutes too. I was like, okay, we're supposed to be back in 2 minutes, but it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds. He did say 2 and 2, didn't he?
Yeah, nope. That's four. And I think that was a common commercial break back in the 80s was 4 minutes.
All right.
What is it now? Like infinite?
It's like
15 minutes.
The show. Yeah, it's like 15 minutes, and you're back for the show for 2 minutes, and you got another 15 minutes of commercials.
Yep.
Oh man.
No conspiracy there, though. That's true.
No. True statements. But instead of doing our usual kind of like our initial thoughts, I mean, especially on one episode, I mean, I'm ready to jump right in, and we'll start with the panel's thoughts and everything. And before we get started, I'm just going to say one thing. I'll give my family show disclaimer. So if there are any parents with children, I cover their ears in the next 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 seconds, because I'm just going to say this, man. That episode 5, Journey to the Dark Head, was fucking amazing. Amazing. There's nothing you can say other than just like the team who did that. Hats off to you. Apologies, I'll look up who actually did it as we move on to this episode. But I mean, if you talk about like if you're going to a Rib Fest or a fair and we're rating these, like, bro, this gets the gold star, this gets the ribbon. Like, this episode epitomized what Star Wars is, and like the future of it. And man, that episode, I've watched it literally like 15 times. Like,
and the style was really well done. Like, it was Vampire Hunter D, and it was mixed in with a lot of cool martial arts, like Dragon Ball Z, Super Saiyan stuff. And plus, they had the Jedi and the Sith in there doing battle. I mean, that episode was an apex. Like, it was pretty legit.
I mean, that's anime for you. Especially when it has this. It seemed like the animators, they got their meat when they said we're doing some Star Wars stuff, so we could use do some anime story, but in the style with Star Wars and stuff. And they just went at it. We had your a lot of good battles and stuff. With the lightsabers and everything. A lot of the typical running and the different scene shots that you see in like different anime style movies and shows or whatever. You got that in that fifth episode. It was my favorite as well. As soon as I seen it, as soon as they was going to go that route, it was just like, oh man, we need like a whole season of this.
For sure.
And even the dialogue was quippy. Like at the end, like, oh, you crashed a speeder. Well, that's nothing like crashing a starship. Very quippy, very quippy, very the humor that we're used to was also there. But the lightsaber battles, and just
Oh.
I love the scene where Toll is I forget what he was doing, but they were fighting in the background, and there was the saber clashing in the background. It was very well done. The artwork was beautiful,
highly detailed. Towards the beginning, you had that battle with the Sith Lord, and it was a chain or whatever. And I think it went into like, one of their chests. I was like, this is real graphic for Disney Plus.
Yeah.
I mean, good thing we got like our codes and stuff to get into like the adult section of the but yeah, it was real. I mean, the whole reddishness and everything, the color scheme and stuff. It was just real raw, and I was very happy to see that. And it really took me out of the fact I was watching like Disney Plus, which is a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This one reminded me a lot of Trigun, that anime from the 90s where you had like different mechanical body parts, and you had crazy like prosthetics and people screaming at each other, and this type of swordsman face-offs that you wouldn't expect that in a Western, and here we have it in sci-fi.
Shout out to Vash the Stampede.
Yes, shout out to Vash, and of course, all praise to Millions Knives.
Right.
Gotta keep knives at.
We do.
One way or the other. So I really, really enjoyed the style here. Like you said, DP, I thought the way they utilized the palette to really convey not just like the menace of the red, but how it intermingled with the blue, and how it seemed like, was the point of that there is no light face and dark face, it's just a mix? Was that, am I correct?
I mean, there's no gray, there's no middle. It's just light and dark. That's it.
So it's marbling.
Yeah.
Right? And marbles like oil and water, not like if you mix in Kool-Aid.
Which was a different vibe from what we got from the episode Sith, which let the idea that no, you need both to mix together and combine, and they needed to be balanced though. In a painting, you can't just splatter a bunch of blue and purple and red and then put some white paint in there too. It's going to look like crap. You got to like mix your colors and your elements. So it was more like a New Hope era Star Wars, where there was definite Jedi, Sith, good and bad. It was cool. But let's talk about the Mother's Day episode. So I am your mother. I am your mother. So this episode to me, now I know we all we all conclude that we all like that middle one pretty well, but I like the first one a lot of reasons. One, it really connected a lot of stuff. I mean, you had Wedge Antilles was the MC. I mean, come on, man. Wedge has never been given that much screen time ever. I mean,
It's true.
Poor guy. A lot of things. The daughter's name is Annie, and she was red too. Plus, the call out to R2D2 and C3PO. And did you catch Mom with Din Djarin's helmet as her welding mask?
Yeah,
I mean,
that was really cool.
A lot of really cool stuff in that episode, and it reminded me of like Phantom Menace without Jar Jar, because we had pod racing, we had a lot of like really great Star Wars elements, and I dug the family theme too. It alone had its own little timeline. I wouldn't mind seeing more of Annie and what happened with her. Did she graduate? I'm sure she did. Did she become a pilot? What happened to her? But that episode had a lot of good content. But you guys can tear me apart if you want. Have at it.
Nobody's going to tear you apart about that. That's the Wallace and Gromit studio. So I think I was really looking forward to that particular style and seeing how it would work in Star Wars. And I think it was awesome. Yeah. So the style was really cool. I thought it lent itself to that, how they say like Star Wars has that lived in sci-fi where things look like they're old and sort of a bit cobbled together. I thought this paid a lot of really great homage to that. And I really love the R2D2 dog. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Z1. Yeah.
Yeah. Z1. So this had everything. It had snooty upper class people with their nice sleek ships that you could really hate. And it had, an underdog hero flying, the junker equivalent of the Millennium Falcon. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And I thought it was really great. And listen, I want my kids certainly to know that the theme of never be ashamed of your parents, no matter what they do. was certainly appreciated by me
Right.
on Mother's Day.
Yeah.
For real.
That was awesome thing. She said at the end, she was like, you're embarrassing to say, but I'm your mother. That's really I'm supposed to do, And
that was the last line of the show.
Yeah.
That was
the last line of the episode and everything. Yeah, great. Fell right on time and everything else, having Mother's Day, this past weekend and everything. So
it was kind of like you're saying, the perfect theme. But Hitch alluded to it. The animation style as well was really cool. It reminded me, we talk about our callbacks, right? This was like if you took Gumby and you modernized it, like the style of the characters. I was like, I can see like a modern day Gumby if they were to reanimate it, what it would look like. So yeah, I do appreciate the style, and it was, 3 completely different stories this week, and I think it was a phenomenal set. Yeah,
completely different animation style. The Spy Dancer was pretty interesting, and seeing the clone troopers, the stormtroopers, actually just chill without their helmets. You got to see a variety of different
body types.
Just a variety. And I'm glad to see that. And then at the very end, they got into their modes and stuff and everything. But yeah, that whole thing was just pretty interesting with the the Spy Dancer and her dancing and her just it felt like it was like a just a thing for just them, like she was just dancing just for that type of thing for the stormtroopers to find a way to relax and
it was the USO for the troops.
Right.
She was the entertainment. And one thing I noticed, what I like about all these new stories is they're bringing in not only characters but ships that I grew up with as they were toys, but they were never in anything. Okay, like the Imperial troop transport we saw in Clone Wars. There was a toy that I had that never was in anything, and this episode had what was called an MTV-7. If you Google it, it was a toy that came out during Empire Strikes Back. It wasn't in anything. It was a weird transport vehicle with 2 big wheels. You remember what it was in opening scene of this stormtroopers got into it to go to the club. It had 2 big wheels on it. It sort of lowered itself down. And they got in, then it raised itself up and it went across. It was all terrain. But if you Google it, you'll see that, man, that's that thing. That's that same toy. I noticed that. I was like, and I've been looking around in my house. I know I have one. I don't know where the hell it is, but they're pulling stuff out of the ether, like to put into these, these different stories so that it's, they're making things come to life. For me,
they're sort of honoring the past and everything.
Right.
Putting stuff like that in there. Another thing with the clone troopers too is that it sort of humanized them a bit with their whole relaxing. Because I don't think I've ever, well, not to my knowledge and stuff. You maybe in the EU and other stories, but I don't think I've ever seen clone troopers just
chilling.
Yeah, just chilling. Other than doing just their clone troopery, type thing, getting hit and, battered and all the time and stuff. But this was I wish it was a way they could have expanded on that, but that wasn't the main focus of the episode. But it was just, like I said, just a different way of just seeing the clone troopers.
I think that they're stormtroopers. And it's interesting because Disney is really making a delineation here that up until maybe even The Force Awakens, in my opinion, there was an open question of, are these stormtroopers clones or are they not clones? And what's the story with the stormtroopers? And Disney has very much put its finger on, they're individuals that are very differentiatable and they have characters. Finn, for instance, obviously is is the example of that. There's a bunch of, but we don't see who's behind the mask in a lot of cases. So Finn's really exceptional. And to see the stormtroopers with their helmets off, it's something that we see in animation, but not very much.
Not much.
Not very much at all. And so we see it with the stormtrooper from Andor. We have Finn, and we have these guys who are in some cases very obviously different. Like they kind of look like the guys from the NES ice hockey. When you could have the really big guy or the medium-sized guy or the real skinny guy that was fast, you could pick.
I thought you were going to say Blades of Steel reference.
No, Blades of Steel, they all look the same, but you could bash into each other and then get in a fight.
Right.
They even have female stormtroopers in there, you know.
Yep.
And they're looking more feminine shaped, right? Like, so it's not because that's the thing. Like, the stormtroopers all seem to have a very similar body type in all these stories, and it's okay. And I'd be fine with them not, because that's a weird choice to make. If you're going to say that they're just being recruited from the general population, or they're being hypnotized as babies. I mean, you know, people aren't the same height. Like, not everybody's 6'2". You know what I'm saying? Like, you'd have variation there, and it would make sense for that to exist. So, like, why would they all look almost identical? They really, you know, maybe this is just my civilian ignorance coming out.
The only thing that would bring out like a discernible difference would be if you're too short, because most stormtroopers are tall. And Leia said, "You're a little short to be a stormtrooper." So there's obviously a height determination, or maybe a height requirement for a stormtrooper. But I think we're seeing now that doesn't really exist. They can be wide and short. They can be tall. They can be feminine. They can be whatever they want to be.
It just brings up so many questions, like, you know, when you go about it like that, what's the stormtrooper? And we talked about this before. Finn, like, where did Finn come from? How did he become to be a stormtrooper? Like, you know, how are their everyday lives? How do they react to what they're doing for the Empire and everything? How do they react to being taken, you know, from where they came from? Well, you know, what is their mind and mentality, right? How do they interact with each other? You know, all we see in, you know, at the end of the day, is just with tasers and everything, you know, the guns and stuff in their hands and stuff, you know, working for the Empire. But, you know, I mean, it has to be some stories out there about, you know, the day in the life of a stormtrooper.
Right. Oh, it put an interesting take on this as well, because as you guys discussed, we've seen it in Rebels, some of the later Clone Wars Bad Batch, to where, like, stormtroopers are kind of, even clone troopers do have some normal kind of, you know, human lives that we have. You know, this was a cabaret, so to speak, right? To where they can kind of go to unwind rather than just, because keep in mind, I'm guessing this story, because the majority of these stories is, I think that, you know, would take place, maybe this story take place after Order 66, right? So, because as you notice, even in a lot of these Vision stories, the Jedi are in hiding, like severe hiding. So I'm guessing a lot of the themes is post Order 66. So yeah, I mean, they're kind of just like, you know, what threat is there? You know, Jedi are basically extinct. They see one, it's like, you know, wow, it's a Jedi. Like, you know, it's almost like
know how to deal with it.
Exactly, they're not used to it. So
yeah, it's not a threat that they're trained on, because they're taught that they're gone. The Jedi are non-existent. They've been extinguished. So when they see one, it has to be a shock. Like, what was her name? The dancer, the spy dancer, Loli. I mean, Louis. She was basically a Jedi. I mean, she had the ability to use the Force. She was using it to wield her dress. She was using it to flick those trackers onto the stormtroopers, so they were unnoticed. So they didn't even know what they were looking at, really, until the end, when she sort of exposed herself, because she saw what we learned to be her son.
Right.
But, you know, until she exposed herself, the stormtroopers had no idea what she was.
And were those like flashbacks, like, you know, were they flashing back in the and, you know, during like that, you know, episode and everything with like her past, or, you know, when the baby got taken away, was that was part of a flashback, right?
Yeah. So I think what happened is this old officer is like thought he found a force sensitive baby, and found a force sensitive baby and mother who's also force sensitive. And I think and she could sense that energy, right, with her son, who had been, you know, been human, like weirdly, probably weird surgeries, had its eye taken out, like just weird, messed up life. And it's probably somewhere in you know, Sith apprentice generation machine that Palpatine's running, so he can hop to a clean body in case Project Lazarus doesn't work right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you have to say, DP does not like the Empire for these reasons.
Not at all.
because they'll take your eye out.
Yeah.
But Ken's getting on board with the Empire, so
I have to agree with DP. I mean, some of the things I see, the atrocities, but then, you know, I look at the technology. I mean, I like their starships. I mean, I like I like the Death Star. I like the idea they can
He's
make
wooed
little
by
Death
the
Star.
shiny toys, people. He's wooed by the shiny toys.
Hey, you know, tech always wins with me. If you can show me something that nobody else has, and it lets you do something that no one else can do, and it's techie, and you have to plug it in overnight to charge it, whatever, I don't care. But I mean, the Empire's got all the toys.
They do have toys.
That's true.
They really do have toys. Just to deviate a bit. I used to the G.I. Joe and Cobra and everything. I used to like Cobra's toys, you know.
of course,
Come on, Cobra Commander had everything, man.
Destro was all gold. Like, you're right. They definitely had the better. They definitely had the better design.
Yeah, G.I. Joe was always struggling with something. I mean, they were putting like trees together with I don't know, dynamite to try and win a little skirmish. But Cobra Commander came in with
Oh yeah, he had the fun
all
toys.
guns a-blazing.
You guys ever notice no one got shot in the G.I. Joe cartoon?
Oh
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
They just had to play a laser tag.
Yeah.
It was like Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes. Like they were like air fighting, right? There was no contact.
They would never fight there. No punching.
Yeah, they were just like, yeah.
No funerals in G.I. Joe. No one was like mourning anybody. Everybody came back.
Thank goodness we had those cartoons in the 80s and 90s to prepare us for the aughts.
Right.
None of that
For
stuff
now, where
came
people are
place in
dropping
the
like flies.
You guys ever seen that one G.I. Joe? It was like about 10 years ago, called G.I. Joe Resolute or something like that. It was like a YouTube thing where it was written by Warren Ellison, but it was like it was like really good animation. But this did everything the exact opposite of what we seen in like the 80s cartoons. It was blood, it was killing, you know, or your favorite G.I. Joes got shot, and you know, it was a good hour and a half long. You know, if you like look that up on YouTube, it's like a whole video. And Storm Shadow and and Snake Eyes, you know, he got into it, physical, you know, hitting blood and everything. It was crazy.
Do you remember those do you guys remember those Generation 1 viral videos with the G.I. Joe The More You Know remixes from like 2004? My favorite. I love it. I love the pork chop sandwiches ones. I'll still yell pork chop sandwiches sometimes. Just like...
Yeah, and no one is half the battle, you know.
How about those movies?
What, the G.I. Joe movies?
Yeah.
Movie? Man, that's a classic. What are you talking about?
The newer ones? The Retaliation was
newer ones. You're not talking about the live action stuff, are you?
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the 80s.
I know that's
G.I. Joe.
Yeah, that's what I'm laughing at, the newer movies, right?
Yeah. No.
They weren't horrible. They were okay. Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, back to Star Wars.
Back to something real.
Go from the ground to back into space. Yeah.
Yeah.
Back into space, but no, I mean, as we talked about these business episodes, I mean, like, me personally, I kind of like the the Asian style, the anime style. I mean, we saw that in season 1, and it was more the kind of like hand drawn kind of aspect, kind of like the fresh medium, you know.
Yeah.
But in this, I mean, this is we talked about like your Dragon Ball, your Trigun. I mean, it really takes like different genres of anime, and you know, it's cool because this last episode was more of like, I would say your Trigun, because Trigun's not it's not digital. It's not really the animation's like an older style, right? So kind of like your Vampire Hunter D's, your Cowboy Bebops. It's more that rough kind of like it's like it's drawn, right? Instead of really newer stuff.
It has a smoothness to it, right? I mean,
right. You know, so it's like refined.
Where they're coming toward each other to clash. I mean that.
Yeah, they pan the camera all the way back, and then they have the 2 figures come, and then the camera's like zooming right in. I mean, that's classic, you know, anime clash and stuff. Yeah.
Ninja Scroll,
way to
Rurouni Kenshin.
Yeah.
And then Dragon Ball for sure, right? That's a lot. There's a lot of those like
right. Yeah, the quick them create the air contact where you don't see battles, you see legs and.
And Piccolo's like, can't you follow it? Go on. You have to be able to see it with your. They're all following it, and they can't see with their eyes. And then Gohan's just like, I'm 5.
The dialogue, the taunting between the Sith master and his would-be apprentice. I mean,
yeah, it took a lot of the anime tropes. The villain speaks in a low, calm tone and everything. He's speaking in low, calm tones, and then has his smirk on his face. It's just classic, anime crazy, like not like it. Yeah,
that's definitely a trope. That's 100% an anime trope. It's all over the place. They smile because they think they got the upper hand.
And there was very little reference to any like world history in these 3 episodes. Like there wasn't any harkening back to the Roman Empire. There wasn't any.
Oh no.
We're not doing it this week.
There just wasn't anything that I could tell was really relevant. They were all based in the Star Wars universe, where time does not exist, where physics is completely just thrown out the window. A space tug or a porta potty can win a race based on the pilot's ability to control it.
That's one thing about the Star Wars universe that's hilarious is there's like no limit to how high a level of pilot you can be. You know what I mean? No. Like there's, like it should cap out. Like I can only do the things an F-16 can do in an F-16, right? But in Star Wars, that ceiling is not like 10; it's 5 billion. And if you have a high enough ceiling, you were just like infinitely. You can do anything in the pilot's chair, which I think is funny.
Yeah, and what was that move that she did? And it reminded me of what our favorite girl Omega did. That was Tech's StarCraft role. Yeah. Like he, what did she end up calling it? It was like something like that. It was the Tech's role or something. But then she had this thing, this Roloff's role, and it was a very interesting anti-gravity 360-degree spin down in front of the person that you're trying to beat. Very Top Gun, isk. But I mean, I dug that, and then I was trying to remember what that was in Bad Batch that Omega learned how to do and named. I thought maybe it was the same move because it was a similar idea. If someone's chasing you, you want to get behind them, but in her case, she was chasing them and she wanted to get in front of them. So it was a little different move. But again, no gravity, no physics, nothing matters. This box with a giant, some sort of photon engine on the back is going to just go straight up in the air and spin and come down. And I mean, very successful.
Yeah, if they could come up with some type of Star Wars anime, as like old series and stuff. I mean, I don't know if Filoni's looking because to get stuck in that. And Star Wars is did like various animation styles. I think they actually did another Clone Wars in a different anime style, style than just the regular stuff. But we're used to the Bad Batch, Clone Wars, and what we've seen in Rebels. Just to put something out there strictly anime related, Star Wars related would be just an awesome thing to see.
I think they definitely there's a niche for it. I mean, especially like we keep harking back to this episode 5. I mean, like think about like the Sith, with the lightning. I mean, we can see like some Dragon Ball-esque like force throws. I mean, they can do so much more with the force that we don't know about, right? Lightning hurls or energy, you're right, DP. I think that they really can go somewhere and tell a season of an anime type, and I'd like to see it in that, in the Japanese, kind of anime style rather than some of the American animation we see. I'd like them to really take it to that kind of.
They give some of the Sith, like the Sith in this episode. I mean, that chain that he was whipping around,
right?
Like just. It was just crazy. I was just like, man, that was some good stuff right there.
in the flashback that the Padawan, I guess, had, the chain impaled the master, didn't it? The Jedi master, it went through his chest.
It killed his master.
I was saying earlier, yeah.
I mean, like you said in the beginning, DP, this is like so Disney Plus not like. I mean,
yeah. But that's the cool thing that they're giving these guys. I mean, because typically in the anime media, right? I mean, traditionally it is very gory, and you get into the manga world. So if you think about it, and now that I think about it, this is more manga than really just standard anime because of some of the short grit in it, and a lot of the grunge and the violence is more manga comic book style, told on a different medium. So hey, I'm all for it. It was graphic. But yeah, that's just, to be honest, I'll pull a Canon. I'm actually going to go watch it directly after this. So I'm going to pull a Canon and watch it again just because, it was my favorite episode. And if they can do it again or replicate this, I'd love to see it for a Vision Season 3. I don't imagine them not stopping this. They have my vote of confidence for this.
I'd love to see just this. I like this focus on the Sith, man. And I would love to see an anime about the Sith because they're the ones that are like, don't have any sort of like restriction on what they'll do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you put Palpatine in a box, he's going to lightning his way out of it. Like he'll come back from the dead and end up with like a whole planet full of idiots on spaceships. Somehow. Maybe that's the anime we should see. I'd love to see the Palpatine anime of him just sitting in a vat for 30 years. Yeah. I think maybe Vader hunting down the remaining Jedi would be a good ass anime.
We talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that a lot. Would be great.
That would just.
And the more of these Jedi that survive Order 66, that's just more work for old Darth Vader down the line.
Right.
That's just him being busy for 20 years, just going to different planets and cutting people down.
Hey, Darth Vader likes work,
And the Sith seem to me to be the older sect. I mean, they seem to go back.
Well, the thing with the Sith is that they really have. I mean, their weapons are all really ancient. They don't. I mean, if you think about it, outside of the Death Star, and I mean, not meaning Palpatine being the Sith Ultimate's really weapon, the Sith really don't really have tech. Their stuff is all archaic, like you're saying, these like lightsaber whips. I mean, look at the Knights of Ren, right? They were meant to be Force sensitives, and they were supposed to have, lightsaber weapons, which we won't get into what happened to them and why they went the way they did. But I mean, that Knights of Ren were really a callback to like your ancient Sith. So it's weird that, and cool that we have Star Wars, with this set of visions going down this Sith tail. We've been asking for Sith content. We have the Acolyte coming out. I mean, it's nice to really get the origin stories of the Sith. Hopefully we get a Palpatine origin or more stories, aligned to the Sith because they are really the big mystery in the Star Wars pie. We know so much about the Jedi. We've learned about, I hear maybe Rogue Squadron's not dead, so we might hear a little bit more about some of the pilots and obviously the Rebellion. But yeah, we really don't know anything really about the Sith outside of Palpatine and Vader, right? I mean, we've heard about Ruler 2, but you really only see one at a time. So it would be nice to really get some content, really Sith heavy, and hopefully they tell more stories like this because I wouldn't call myself a Sith, but I think they are cool as hell. It's just something about them.
Did they have a lot of in the EU? Like, did they have a lot of like Plagueis? Like, they have stories about like a lot of stories and stuff with them. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The whole foundation of the Sith is actually like they went through other phases and they were. There was a whole empire and they fought the Republic and they were like an army, just like the Jedi for a while. And then they did.
There was a Sith civil war, kind of like the Mandalorian civil war when the two Death Watch and basically the main tribes or main sects of the Mandalorians split in half. There was a giant Sith civil war that broke out. Really cool read in the EU. And DP, to answer your question, as why is all these Sith on what are they? Ventilators. It's a really easy story. So for humanoids or us, right? The problem with the Sith and the dark side is, and you see it on the video games, it like wears your life force away, right? So if you play the games, you'll notice like your skin starts peeling. It's weird, right? Like it like ages you. So for humans, we can't take attune to the force as long outside of Palpatine, but typically like humans, probably in a true Sith Lord would maybe live to 40 or 50. So the ventilators are a way to keep them essentially alive through rage.
Okay.
But even with these other beings, yeah, it's just the dark side pull and the anger and the hatred it fuels dark side energy. It just wears the body
It
away.
uses you up. It
It
uses
does.
you up.
It literally destroys your body. So that's why you see them usually ventilated up as a means to keeping them alive. Because yeah, it's the pull to the dark side.
Or they have an arm, mechanical arm, leg,
Right.
like
Yeah.
in Sith, our painter. You know, she was half android because she was imbued with the Sith, even though she didn't want to, but she knew that she was part of it. You know, so yeah, it just uses you up. I mean, when you hate, when you have anger, enough of it, and it wears you out. And you know, that's now Palpatine looks pretty good for being as hateful as he is.
Oh,
he's hateful, but he's not angry, right? I mean, that's the thing. He's not. He's hateful and happy.
Great point.
After he threw Mace Windu out the window, he calmed down. He was just like, okay, he was chill because he got rid of his biggest thorn. I think if we saw a different timeline, I think Mace Windu would strike down Sidious. But
he burned him. Remember, he burned him the hell out.
Yeah,
he's the one who like got rid of the facade of Sheev Palpatine and became Sidious at that point, right? He scarred his face, like that was really that
he had to get rid of him.
De-aging, yeah. So that started it. It's crazy.
It's weird. It's like the dark side of the force messes with your liver. Like you get jaundice.
Right.
It's like drinking. It's like getting hammered every day. It's like just like because you know you can do things on alcohol you can't do without it.
You can't do.
You just down a fifth of whiskey every single day. Eventually, it would it would catch up.
Right. But no, it's an interesting. We talk about an interesting take on the stories, and yeah, I mean, the one gripe I have, and it's outside of really our Vision story, but like, I really thought that Filoni would go down the Mara Jade route. I'm a little disappointed, if anything. I'll say that. I really wish that we seen more Luke. You know, that's like Luke. I just want to see like this, like. I understand where we're going, but I just can't see the way if they're going to kill off Luke the way they did and not give us that, you know, that Jedi Master Luke. We haven't seen him. I just feel like we got a peek of that in the Mandalorian finale. Give us a series of what he was like. Obviously, you know, and it's crazy as we talk about how these stories of Star Wars are, you know, basically the same story we done, right? You know, Obi-Wan lost Sabine's sister, which really drove him into depression. And I mean, the perfect story to tell why Luke went into depression is Mara Jade died, right? They can pay it off. And we saw in the comic book, just pay it off that Mara Jade was killed by a Sith, whatever.
Ben. Because look,
Ben will be perfect. That will be
because
perfect.
Look, that's the legend story, right? That's the legend story. That's what, you know, it's not analogous, and so it's not a spoiler even because it's not the same universe. But basically, I mean, from a Bones perspective, that's what I would expect to happen, and it would make sense for that to break Luke, right? That would make a lot of sense. So
he's carrying his children, you know, and he strikes her down. That would be
killing his own cousin. I mean, I don't know. You know, I don't know.
Anakin would.
Anakin would do a lot of crazy stuff.
Right.
Anakin wouldn't think.
Anakin did some stuff that was so grimy that it killed his girl. Like that's grimy. I mean, she just was like, peace out after finding out what he did, which is probably the appropriate reaction. But you figure she would have reacted differently in the other movie when he was bragging about, you know,
killing all the children.
Just a slight genocide.
But you know what's funny, and I just thought about that.
Raider children.
When he killed him,
she was just like, yes.
But she didn't. Yes. Didn't she like do like the little pet name with him? She's like, "Did you kill him, Annie?" Did you say Anakin, right? She called him Annie.
And that's the same name they just brought back in I Am Your Mother.
Right? Yeah, Annie. Yeah.
As soon as that happened, she was like, "I want to take you to my secret castle by the lake."
Yeah. She's, you killed him, Annie. Annie, that wasn't true, was it? I'm like, Annie, like,
call her out on her hypocrisy and stuff.
right?
Down the line. I just killed all these children and stuff. Now you
and you were like good to go. You were like, great. I'll go on an unmarked off-planet transit with you anytime. Family murderer. Let's get going. And then he murders more kids, and she's like surprised by it. And I'm just like, if there's anything that should not have surprised you about this situation, it's that he would have killed kids.
She was clouded by the dark side. She didn't see through it.
Her pregnancy was like, it was just
it's pregnancy brain.
Pregnancy brain or whatever.
I'm just kidding.
Whoa, wait! You're bringing reality in now.
For her, and then for her to just peace out on the kids too. Like, you know what I mean? Like, obviously that guy is going to be coming for those kids, and you're just like, they're fine.
And that
I don't have any will to live anymore.
Now there would be an interesting Vision story. What if Padme didn't pass away? What if she got through it? Got through the what do they call it? The postpartum. What if she got through it? Raised the kids. What if they didn't separate them? What if she raised?
That never would have happened. He would have hunted her down because their Force bond, even though she didn't have the Force, his bond to her was too strong. Because he would have kidnapped her and brought her to Mustafar. I mean, if you want to see a story, he would have been insanely crazy. He might have been overpowered at that point.
You think?
Oh yeah,
he'd have been definitely like. He'd have been like Force influencing her and stuff and making her do things, and it would have been.
I don't know.
That sounds like a terrible story. I don't want to see.
Yeah,
when he woke up on the operating table, and when he
how crazy he was,
when he found out that Padme had died and he was responsible, he was visibly torn up. He was.
I bet the boyfriend Mark Wahlberg from that Fear, that movie from the 90s, would have been all tore up too. But you know what? I don't think he was a great boyfriend.
You don't?
I mean, that's not the only thing that matters. Is whether or not you like the partner you're with. Like, that's, come on, man.
I'm just saying. I'd like to see a what if Padme didn't die, raised the children, raised the twins as she should have as a mother. I mean, she was pretty well balanced. She was tough.
So in your conspiracy, in your head canon, in your thought scenario, where would Darth Vader be in the span of her raising the kids?
Michael Myers.
Yeah, Michael Myers. He wouldn't rest until she was dead.
How does he stay away from, or how does she hide and keep herself away from him?
That's the story. That's the story. Every episode,
have to stay in hyperspace.
Here she is raising the kids. Here comes Michael Myers up from behind, and boom! At the last minute, she escapes.
But he never attacks them. He's just like, I just want to talk.
Oh no!
She's like, "Yeah, get out of here, Darth Vader."
Their life
just leaves.
Get out of here, Darth.
But imagine the relationship. I'm saying the relationship between Luke and Leia. What if they weren't separated for? What if they grew up together?
Yeah, but Palpatine would eventually got him.
What if episode? So
that's your what if. But yeah, I think Palpatine would have found him.
I think as soon as he would have had Luke, that was it for Anakin. I mean, Luke or Leia is essentially a healthy Anakin body, and that's really all he needed Anakin for anyway, was the healthy, pure conduit to the Force connection. And if Luke is that, then because he does that in Episode 6, he's like, I don't really care who wins this fight. I'm just gonna be.
So that's interesting. Every time Michael Myers is about to destroy Padme and the twins, Palpatine steps in and stops it because he knows there's a future need for these bodies, and he doesn't want them to be destroyed. He wants them to grow and flourish.
It's like he keeps bumping in on Vader, like in that big throne room. Are you thinking about killing them? No, I'm not. You are thinking about it. I can tell. Don't kill those kids.
See, so if it's done right, I don't care. It could be live action, it could be animated, could be real slick, like Japanese animation. I mean, I would like to see that storyline. If you were talking about a what if, I'd like to see that.
I would think Palpatine strikes him down from behind, personally.
Who? Anakin or
Yeah,
Padme?
for sure. Anakin. He strikes him down.
No, I think Palpatine strikes down Anakin and makes Padme marry him or something
Correct.
really
Yeah,
like Biff Tannen-y,
Yeah.
something real messed up for no reason.
I think
Were y'all
I
like,
think
really?
he strikes down Anakin. I think he would. He would hit him, kill him. I mean, he doesn't. He has the coolest lightsabers. He has these two like 3-inch lightsabers, and he has one under each sleeve. He can like shoot out like hidden cards, and he never uses them. Literally, he has two hidden lightsabers. And
What if he started using it like to cut food and stuff like after at a certain point it's like he doesn't care who knows anymore. He's like,
Yeah, what like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where Trillian's cutting bread with a lightsaber.
yeah, just like that. Does anyone want a piece?
I'm making grilled cheese.
It's all for Sheev. I imagine that's how the Emperor eats. That stuff.
he's only used it. He's only used it a handful of times. If that, right? So
How'd he get good? That's
exactly.
my question, right?
That's what I'm saying. That's why we need more backstory to him. He has to or maybe he wasn't this guy that just used Force Lightning. Like he was really out there hunting himself, like hacking people down. I mean, I just think with Disney Plus and the stories they can do, there's so many of these individual properties. We don't have to stay in this Mandoverse. Like do a
Sidious
story. Do a Vader story. We need a Luke story. Like there's so many stories that they can do. But I mean, obviously we're stuck in there's a roadmap.
Like you're getting tired of the Mandoverse, because before Mando stuff, it was like, okay, well, they have these stories they could tell, and then we got like the Mando stuff.
Well, you know what it is, honestly? It's not I'm tired of it. I just want like finality, because they keep saying like we want to move on, but we don't, because this Mandoverse still ties it all together. We just saw Luke Skywalker, right?
Baby Yoda sells.
It's the most marketable thing that Disney has created in decades, man. I mean,
Exactly.
decades.
Won't let it go. Not Mickey. Not
So it's
Mickey.
gonna be everywhere.
You don't want to see a Luke and Leia storyline where they grow up together and you see them like be brother and sister, and how that evolves. I mean,
I personally don't.
Mm.
To each his own.
I want to see it, but only if it's a 1980s style sitcom, and Sheev Palpatine has to raise them now because their mother has passed away. So they are orphans that have to go live with the rich old man in his house, and he takes care of them. And he is being watched by the social services person, and he keeps trying to convert him to the dark side. But social services comes in. They're like, "Oh, we're going to take the kids if you."
So you're talking like Welcome
side.
Back Kotter meets Different Strokes.
I'm thinking more like Full House. I want Luke and Leia to be learning lessons that are important, and I'd love for Sheev to have Uncle Anakin come over from time to time to teach them a lesson. Because he's good at teaching lessons.
And they're going on long trips, and Luke's like, "Are we there yet?" Leia's like, "Shut up."
And Palpatine's just like wishing that he'd killed himself instead of Padme. He's just like, "Oh, I don't." He's like, "Maybe I don't want to live forever."
Hey, Leia stuff goes to crazy in different ways. So let George R. Martin get a hold of him. You have like Cersei and Jamie. So
No. I wasn't going there. Although George wanted to go there, and he wanted us to believe that Luke and Leia were going to be an item.
That's how they started out, right?
Yeah.
So
how did that happen? I mean,
how
if
far
Padme hadn't died of a broken heart?
What if he never found out that was his sister?
Never
found out.
That's
the type of thing that keeps you up at night,
Yeah.
not me, but
Yeah.
that's like a wake up in the middle of the night in a cold sweat. Like, no,
exactly you. That's what keeps you up at night.
No.
How can this be?
Oh man.
It's funny to take it on another. For them to be together, that would be a true Force dyad, right?
And then Vader's hunting them down, and he's just staring at him like, just cutting back and forth.
You
like,
two go kill yourselves.
Yeah.
It's like this. What are you doing? What? No.
No. Oh man.
Where are the twins? Oh, you don't even want to know.
You Tarkin's like, you don't even want to know.
Yeah.
Let it go. Build your house car. We're going over here.
You don't want to know.
Yeah.
You gotta tend your garden. You gotta tend your garden, Vader.
See, we're writing some good stuff here.
Shot after shot of Vader just standing there at what can only be a simmering rage.
Oh yeah, he'll be super angry at that point. Oh man.
What about Palpatine dressing Vader down because his kids were acting up? We were announcing a new Senate law, and your son made a mockery of us. It's on all the late night shows.
That goes back to the 80s TV show, like Full House or whatever. You know,
Meanwhile, Vader's just standing there.
Can you imagine like slightly like force choking them? Well, back in the 80s, you can discipline them so like they can get like a force ass beating, right?
I definitely
Imagine getting slapped by the force in your ass like from like another room every time you act it out.
He does that to he slaps the General Hux from across the galaxy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man.
Imagine that across the galaxy ass beating.
Yeah. No spoons, no wooden spoons.
Just shows up.
No
Just
spatulas.
shows up in the big projector room. Like, why is your room is filthy and you went on your own? Like, you went on your cruiser.
You didn't brush your teeth,
there, fellas.
No.
Yeah, Palpatine getting really pissed off at them for not taking care of themselves. It's like, I told you to eat an all-vegetable diet and brush your teeth. Like, he's just obsessed with his body being in good shape.
I'll need your body in 50 years. You
No, need your body.
Never drive in a car going more than 40 miles an hour.
Because the Sith are selfish.
Yeah, they do think about
sure.
themselves. So yeah, he's also thinking about he's definitely thinking about their future, right?
Yes.
For
Yeah,
sure.
that's the whole thing. Because the Sith need to prolong their lives because they are generated by the Force, the dark side. So they need to always have a new body to jump into. So here's a perfect thing: your grandson or granddaughter has to be your next vehicle.
Right. Until we found out about Project Genesis or whatever the hell this was.
That's the new technology. He's just sick of it.
Project,
It's like
yeah,
it
right.
doesn't work. Like he tried really hard to get like the most ignorant idiot from the middle of nowhere with the most force power, and he couldn't pull it off. So he's like, that's it, I give up. Just clone me.
Right. But yeah, guys, another fun week, another fun end of a great episode series. I mean, I think this was the funnest one though, because we really got to ramble on some Star Wars stories. We got some, since we didn't get Hitch's history lesson, we got some more conspiracy lessons. So we got to elaborate.
Pay attention, people.
It's just
Pay
history and Ken's conspiracy lessons.
You see, when you don't speak up about the facts, this is when something fills in the gap.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the truth. Oh man. Oh, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story, buddy.
Anyway,
right.
Yeah. So the Empire does some stuff Empires do. It's true, but I don't want to get into details tonight.
Yeah. But yeah, next week we'll finish Visions off with episodes 7 to 9, and a couple other great ones in that as well. So very, very good take on those episodes, and I can't wait to really finish this off. And then that kind of leads us into the summer series, and what this second half of the year is, arguably busier than this first half. So very excited for Star Wars. Very excited for the summer leading into. I mean, this Ahsoka, this build up. I mean, the TV spots they're talking about. I mean, this arguably is going to be bigger than the Mandalorian. I feel like. I mean, I think this is really going to be like the series that really galvanizes people because you're getting the Force back, lightsabers. We might even get some cameos. Who knows who's going to be in it, right? But yeah, very excited.
Give me
Correct.
Hondo.
The live action Hondo, yeah.
Thrawn.
Yeah, that's going to be the coolest thing to see, like his face, right? To see Thrawn on live action. So we'll see some. I mean, I'm hoping to see him in. There's I think 1 or 2 more trailers they're going to release before it's all said and done, and then, yeah, we lead into that.
And then the Chiss ascendancy is real,
right? And then you think about this Secret Wars thing. I mean, imagine if they do like with Marvel doing the Secret Wars kind of side story, it just kind of leads you into like, the unknown regions. Will we see like more Chiss stories or things like that? So it's funny as these properties, grow and they try different mediums, with, Marvel kind of sidestepping their main storyline to deliver where there's like a one-off comic book story. Kind of gives you the idea maybe Star Wars can kind of do that. And based on what I've recently read, this whole Thrawn series is really like the lead up to Heir to the Empire. So it's basically taking the book and retelling the book through live medium. So that'll be really cool to really get a live action view of Heir to the Empire rather than people just reading it or listening to the audiobook. So
Yep.
if you haven't read them or listened to it, definitely I would read up into that. Maybe brush up on your knowledge into that as we get into Ahsoka.
It's the real. I think that's probably the real like 1A Legends series, right? I think that if you're gonna read any Legends novels, you should probably do the Heir of the Empire trilogy before you do anything else. See if you like it. You will, because you're
Definitely.
the type of person that watches a Star Wars podcast. So
Right.
you'll like that.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, great episode once again. And look forward to seeing everybody next week as we finish up Vision. So until next week, guys, this is the way.
This is the way.